Hi, my name's John Cordy, and people were asking, where'd you get that hat? No, they weren't. Anyway, so people are asking me to try out the Quad Cortex with the digital audio workstation. So basically I'm on the Windows laptop, so I have to go on the website, and in the download section of that you've got a USB ASIO driver. So I installed that, and then basically you just go into your digital audio workstation and you go into your preferences, and then audio device settings, audio system ASIO is probably what you're going to need, and then you'll find your ASIO driver, the Neural DSP USB audio device. You select that, you add a track, then input 1 will give you the raw guitar track, and output 1 and 2 will give you the output of this. So I'm just going to be monitoring with headphones for that. So whatever you just heard in the intro was what I came up with there. Then I guess I wanted to talk about some other bits and pieces. So there are some people that I've seen saying, you know, I'm not blown away and all that sort of stuff, or there's a pocket of people that say, or are asking me to do comparison with bits and pieces, and at this stage I'm not really too interested in doing that, and the reason being I think it's worth just seeing what we've actually got there that Neural DSP have done. Obviously it's taken a lot of work to get to where it is, and I think it's probably fair to just try and dig into what that unit can do before going too deep down the rabbit hole of doing comparisons and stuff, which to be honest are probably limited by my ability as much as anything else. I also saw some people sort of saying, oh, that sounds fizzy, when I was doing some of the run throughs with the amps and stuff, and that's fine. That is kind of how high gain amps can sound. So I don't know if this might be coming from people who don't have much experience with modelers or whatever, but there's no modeler that I've ever played where a PV5150 or whatever doesn't sound a certain way, and to be honest I don't think that's a Neural DSP issue, that might be a PV issue. But anyway, so I think it's worth talking about kind of the burden of expectation. Neural set themselves a huge task, and they also set themselves up with very high expectations because of the way that they've marketed the unit. Now, I'm not a marketing person, and obviously I don't sell myself well, not like that, but they've made bold claims about what the unit will be able to do, what it can do, and I think that's what people are measuring kind of what they've actually got with. So some people have got their hands on the unit. Myself personally, it meets the expectations that I had, and those expectations were relatively high given some of the claims that they made. Now, I'm obviously a person that is very interested in Fractal and Line 6 units, and I'm a fan of both of those companies as well, and I've been sort of as critical of some of the Neural DSP stuff as anyone except for Gene Bloomberg. Shout out Gene. Also, I've got a Kemper as well, and you know, I'm kind of a fan of that too. So that's kind of the lens that I'm viewing it from. I've got expectations and I've got experience with other modelers, so I wasn't expecting this to do things wildly different to other modelers. I was expecting that it would sit with those other modelers and do that job. So that's where my expectations were. If your expectations were that Neural DSP might come along and suddenly the AXFX3 might sound rubbish, or suddenly the Helix might sound rubbish, or suddenly the Kemper whatever, then maybe your experience with the unit might be slightly different. That's kind of just my opinion. The other thing I've seen people talking about a little bit is that, oh, it's just version 1, so we need to kind of bear in mind that they've got time to come up with the stuff that is kind of missing, potentially, not missing, but you know, to flesh out the feature set further. And I think while that's not true, also the other companies haven't stopped. So people like Fractal and Line 6 are still working on all of their stuff as well. So if you're making decisions based on what's possible in the future, then I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the smartest way to go about selecting pieces of gear for right now, just in my opinion. And I know that not every company has been able to achieve the kind of endless update kind of thing that Line 6 and Fractal have done. So for instance, the Strymon Iridium came out in November of 2019, was it? A while ago. Was it 2000? Yeah, it must have been November 2019. And since then there's been no significant updates. I know the Headrush has been out for a while and there's been sort of a trickle of updates. The Kemper, there's been updates incrementally along the way, but I think Fractal and Line 6 stand apart. Line 6? Line 6 stand apart in that there's been improvements for a long time and on a consistent basis. I don't think that it's necessarily fair to expect that every company is going to be able to do that at that pace, but maybe Neural are, so we'll see, won't we, I guess. But there's, you know, there's work ahead before we can really say, you know, there's all of this stuff that you could do with an Aspect or a Helix and more. But at the moment we can say that it's not underpowered, so it's got the potential to do really good stuff. The stuff that's in there, you know, rotaries, the reverbs, the delays, they sound really good to me. Some of the drives are great. There's not really many fuzzes in there. And at the moment, it can do capturing and modelling. So there's no other device really that can do those two things. So that's cool. Oh, just one other thing I thought of. What's useful about running that dry track in and the processed one as well. So basically you have a dry output and the actual guitar process output, similar to what you can do with the Helix, obviously. That's a super powerful way to reamp stuff. And as far as I'm aware, there's only really two companies that are in this game. So Line 6 have the Helix, and they also have Helix Native. So you can reamp those sounds and you can use your exact other presets and stuff. At the moment, Neural DSP don't have a native version of the Quad Cortex, but they do have their plugins and stuff. So that's kind of a potential use for that dry reamping kind of thing. And I think it's really only Neural DSP and Helix, or Line 6, sorry, that are in that kind of game of creating the plugins as well as creating the actual hardware. And I think that's probably an important part of where the future is headed, I think. So I think that's probably the best lens to view the Quad Cortex through. Kind of temper your expectations. If you're thinking that this is suddenly going to blow everything out of the water, maybe just dial that back a bit. But I think it's impressive what they've done given the constraints and given what has happened recently. What is it, April, and it was due to come out in November, so it's a small delay relatively given the coronavirus and all that stuff. I think that's fairly impressive still, and I found no issues with the unit. I've been playing it constantly for the last sort of 24 hours, 30, 48, what's Ruben? So yeah, if there were like glaring issues I would have told you about them, but I haven't found a single one. So that's kind of useful to know, I guess, and quite impressive. So I'm going to try and record with it now, but those are kind of my opinions on it. In terms of should you buy one, I think if it does what you need it to do right now, then it's a good buy. If you're buying it because you expect things to come, you know, future updates and stuff, and if you're buying it on a condition of what is coming in the future, I don't know that that's the smartest way to buy gear, because that's kind of super unpredictable. It does look like the future holds cool things for the neural stuff, and they're still developing, you know, effects and models and all that sort of stuff, and people are now just going to start jumping into this capturing side of things. So there is a whole kind of thing opening up for neural, but you know, if you need a looper, then either you're going to have to buy an external looper. If you need some of those other effects and stuff, or if you wanted a Dumble style amp or whatever, those things aren't in there at the moment. So don't buy one and then complain that they're not in there, because it's not really clear when those are going to be in there. Similarly, it's not that clear when the plugins are going to be ported across, or how that's going to work. So, you know, if you're conditionally buying it because of that particular feature, then maybe now's not the right time. But anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on it. If I was able to come here and tell you, oh, they've put out a shoddy product, I would, but they haven't. The interface is great, as you'd expect. I think the sounds in it are really, really good. I think the effects in it are really good, the ones that are there. There's some that aren't there yet, but you know, in the future maybe those will come. Maybe it's in a short while, maybe it's going to be soon, or maybe it might be a year. I don't know. I don't know if Neural know. I don't know if there's a roadmap for that. But what is in there at the moment I think is really solid. So yeah, if you've got one coming, I think you'll be impressed with it. Probably. Unless you're Gene Bloomberg. Thank you for stopping by. If you wanted to like and subscribe, you could. Cheers.